Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching this week's edition of the Political Stock Exchange. On the PSE this week, we will get you the state of play in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. The EC has announced the poll schedule for these key battleground states in the Hindi heartland. Which party has its nose in front? Who's trailing? How is the election being set up in these three crucial election-bound states? The results of the C-Voter opinion poll tracking data for Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh coming up on this week's edition of the Political Stock Exchange.
The 2023's poll season begins. Who has the edge? BJP to dethrone Gehlot in Rajasthan? Which Kamal will bloom in Madhya Pradesh? Can Baghel defend Chhattisgarh? Mega opinion poll. Political Stock Exchange. Big focus on News Track.
Over the next 45 minutes, I will get you the results of the C-Voter opinion poll for Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh. These are the three key Hindi heartland states where elections will be held in November. Results out on the 3rd of December. I want to take you through the methodology employed by C-Voter for Rajasthan. That's the first state we'll take on our screen. This round of sampling was done by C-Voter between the 1st of September and the 8th of October. It has a sample size of 30,044 voters. All the 200 Vidhan Sabha constituencies of Rajasthan have been covered. This is a CATI poll, which means it's a telephonic poll. It's not face-to-face. So do bear that in mind as you take a look at the results. I want to introduce also our guests joining us for this show, starting with the lead psephologist at C-Voter, Yashwant Deshmukh. His one-time contemporary, now politician, GVL Narasimha Rao joins us on this broadcast as a member of parliament and spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Squaring off against him, Dr. Syed Nasir Hussain, member of parliament, national spokesperson of the Congress. And we have Amitabh Tiwari, political analyst and columnist, joining us as well. Let me take you through the projections for vote share in Rajasthan. Remember, this is where the BJP has announced that it will go in without projecting a chief ministerial face. They're also saying that Vasundhara Raje will not be given the kind of center stage that she had in the past few elections. Ashok Gehlot has a record of just seeing his party's vote share crash after 5 years of being in power. So what does the Rajasthan vote share look like? The Congress, remember, in 2018 had a 39% vote share. C-Voters projecting at this moment that the Congress's vote share could go up to 42. That's the October projection. When this poll was done in July by the same polling agency, the Congress's vote share was at 41. So that's a 1% gain in vote share between July and October. The BJP in 2018 had a 39% vote share. So they had roughly the same amount of votes as the Congress, except their votes were concentrated. The Congress's votes were more diffuse, and therefore their seat conversion ratio was better. The projection in July by C-Voter was that the BJP would end up at 46% vote share. Now the projection is 47. So the BJP's vote share projection has also gone up by 1. How does this translate into seats? So coming up on your screen now, the C-Voter projection for Rajasthan. There are 200 assembly seats in the state of Rajasthan. The C-Voter is projecting in October the Congress's vote share, which was 100 in 2018, came down to 83 in July, has crashed further to 64 in October. So from 100 in the last elections to 64 now, between July and October, 20 seats down. So the Congress in Rajasthan seems to be on a downward slope, month on month. That's the image that emerges from this C-voter tracker. The BJP, on the other hand, was at 73 in the last elections. That went up to 114, now projected to go up to a whopping 132. That's up 59 seats from the last elections. And on that note, let me get in Yashwant Deshmukh for his first thoughts on the poll for Rajasthan, which seems to suggest the Congress is getting weaker, the BJP getting stronger, and it seems that Ashok Gehlot, the magician, will live up to his track record, according to your data, of taking the Congress from the high of a victory in one election to a terrible low in the next. And also for 30 years, Rajasthan has had this same formula of voting out governments after 5 years. That seems likely to get repeated. Yashwant.
Well, Rahul, one interesting thing that our tracker is pointing out, which we are routinely doing for PSC and the ABP, is like the bipolarization of these states is getting more and more acute by the day. Even though Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh have been long known for a bipolar state between BJP and the Congress, but there was always like every fourth voter in these states was going between 20%, 25% up to of them were going to others. These others included the BSP and the many of the small local parties.
But can I chip in to make the point that one of the reasons why you're picking up only 10% vote for the others, and it was 18% in 2018, is also because candidates haven't been declared, so you don't know how many rebels are standing. And typically, if there are powerful rebels, then the number of people in your poll who will say they're voting for those independent candidates might be much higher. Because remember, Ashok Gehlot last time, because he didn't get his sway in ticket allocation, put up some of his own rebels, which didn't get captured in an opinion poll, but would only be known in a post poll or very close to the actual polling. Yashwant.
That's true. That's true. So far, it's really working out like that. Maybe the others' votes might increase as and when the play of the rebel candidates get into action. And it would be interesting to see if that happens. Then those rebels are eating up to from which pie actually in that way. But by and large, as far as Rajasthan is concerned, Rahul, it looks like a routine anti-incumbent verdict, and I don't really have to work really hard to explain that, honestly, because apart from what data is showing, it's very easy for me as from putting my journalist cap and understand that in the last 4.5 years, there was hardly a positive headline, making to center stage from Rajasthan.
No, but one of the things that Yashwant's data doesn't capture, GVL Narasimha Rao, is the subterranean damage some of your stalwart netas could do. For example, Vasundhara Raje hasn't been projected this time. If she doesn't give it her all and she skipped some of the Parivartan Yatras and her supporters just pull their hands and don't fight as hard as they could, the data may not capture it, but andari andar, as was the case with Yadurappa in Karnataka, you may discover later that the situation is tougher than you would have initially imagined. So that's one of the risks the BJP runs.
Not really, Rahul, because such calculations were made even in the last assembly elections, and quite contrary to the projections in 2018, the BJP barely, I think the Congress barely made it to the government. They did not even secure a majority. They were able to, they thought of a massive anti-incumbency against Vasundhara Raje government. It was calculated that the BJP was a completely divided house. There was no clear projection on the leadership. Despite all this, Congress could not even get a majority in the last election. So therefore, while we have several important leaders in the state, and they all may have their own, they have their own stature, but it only adds to the BJP's strength. It does not in any way work against our electoral prospects. So 130 is quite a 134 is a very realistic number according to me, and we could even surpass that, because even when we won in 2013, we won we had won a landslide mandate. Okay. This could even turn out to be a landslide.
You know, that's what's happened in the past. When Gehlot became chief minister in 1998, the Congress had about 45% of the vote share. In 5 years, Congress's vote share crashed 36%. That's a 9% loss. Their seat share fell from 153 to 56. That's a 100 seat, virtually 100 seat loss in seat share. In 2008, when he became chief minister, the Congress had 96 seats. 5 years later, the Congress's seat share in 2013 was down to 21. So this has been, Amitabh Tiwari, the track record of the magician in Rajasthan. After winning, somehow it's not like the BJP lost last time, but they weren't routed. They were at 73, which is bad but not pathetic. Gehlot's track record typically has been that after 5 years in power, the Congress on his watch gets routed.
Yeah, so when BJP wins, it wins big, and when Congress loses, it loses badly. And when it has been winning in the past 2008 and 2018, it has not been able to score the simple majority mark. So what happens is that Ashok Gehlot has an image of a status quoist. If you talk to the people there, what happens generally is that Ashok Gehlot comes into action or gets into action only in the last year of elections, and that has an impact on the overall performance of the Congress. In this term, what many Congress supporters also believe is that Ashok Gehlot has been largely for the first 4 years trying to settle the factionalism with Sachin Pilot. So he has been caught up in factionalism, trying to save his chair rather than administrative issues. And that is why perhaps this time we are seeing the trend, and the same trend has been observed in the past as well.
Let Nasir Hussain of the Congress respond to this. Dr. Hussain, the fact is the first 4 years were largely about Gehlot and Pilot being at loggerheads, brutally, visibly, publicly unabashed. Now he's trying through freebies, welfareism to try and recover lost ground, but Yashwant's data would seem to suggest that the gap is now too yawning for it to be bridged, no matter how many freebies Chief Minister Gehlot offers to the voters in Rajasthan.
Rahul, I think Ashok Gehlot government for the past 5 years has been a pro-people's government. The kind of schemes and the kind of programs that he has given to the people of Rajasthan is something that has not been seen in many other states in our country. A right to health, in which you have a right not to be denied treatment. I think this is first of its kind in the country. The Chiranjeevi Yojana, 25 lakh cashless health insurance. Indira Gandhi Urban Employment Scheme, again in the urban areas. We had spoken about Manrega, but for the rural areas, but then urban employment scheme. Then first state to re-implement the old pension scheme, for which he has, I think, almost spent over 12,000 crores. Free electricity up to 100 units. So they're marvelous schemes for the welfare of the poor of
So what you're saying, with respect, Dr. Hussain,
very innovative, very imaginative,
seems to be divorced from the data. This show is about the data. What you're saying is not getting captured in the data. How do you explain the C-voter data, which suggests that the Congress is not just on its way out, it's losing steam. The BJP campaign in Rajasthan is gaining steam. Let's stick to the data on the political stock exchange.
I would not like to get into the data that is being provided by C-voter. What I have seen, we have been engaging here from Delhi and to the people down who are working there in Rajasthan. We have visited Rajasthan on a number of occasions. I think we are comfortably placed. We will form the government, and this will be after so many years. I think this will be for the first time that the government will get repeated there. And
you're hopeful that the Congress will come back to power. Yashwant Deshmukh, can something change? Now, if I look at your tracker, okay, Yashwant Deshmukh, if I see your tracker, momentum seems to be building in favor of the BJP and away from the Congress in Rajasthan. We'll come to the other states in a moment. Between now and polling day, is there something that can potentially change? How do you read it? What are the X factors?
Well, even though, Rahul, it is said that a week is a long time in politics, as far as our profession goes, we have seen some of the drastic ups and downs during a timeline, but those kind of drastic ups and downs happen only when really drastic things happen on the ground. Public perception, otherwise, in our tracker, because we do it on a daily basis, by and large, in the last 4.5 years, I have seen Congress numbers in Rajasthan have only tanking down and then remaining there. So what I'm simply humbly trying to say is that unless something really big happens on the ground, for example, and I can say what can work for the Congress. For example, if there is an open rebellion by Vasundhara Raje and she starts putting up candidates all across the states. Now that kind of thing happens, which is a black swan event.
But she hasn't rebelled so far. She's expressing her displeasure, but she hasn't openly rebelled, and there is no indication that she intends to do so. And remember, just bear in mind, as you look at how unhappy Vasundhara Raje is and her supporters are, keep in mind that the campaign is now started. Polling is just a few weeks away. So Yashwant, she's left with very little time now to actually be able to rebel, form her own party, place her own candidates. She's now run out of time.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point. And also, Rahul, please keep in mind, BJP in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh or Chhattisgarh is not because of their chief ministerial candidate. BJP in these states is largely because of their organizational strength and capacity. So even though we have seen when you remember somebody like Uma Bharti rebelled against the BJP, or somebody like Mr. Kalyan Singh rebelled against the BJP, they did manage to disturb the party. They did manage to damage the party in a short-term basis. But in a long-term basis, it was the organization and the strength of the party which persisted over there. So yes, the Black Swan event could be only an open rebellion by
That's
Vasundhara
a very good
Raje.
point by
Otherwise,
Yashwant Deshmukh, that if Vasundhara decides to walk away, then there is fluidity. Otherwise, the trend line seems set. The BJP is on the ascendant. The Congress in Rajasthan seems to be on its way out. That trend can't change unless now there is a Black Swan X-Factor type event. So with that said, from Rajasthan, let's move to Madhya Pradesh, which to my mind is really the most exciting election of the current lot of poll-bound states. And the reason I say that is because the BJP is going all out, fielding ministers, MPs, trying to counter the anti-incumbency that seems to have set in against the government. The Congress, on the other hand, is hoping to play the sympathy card. Kamal saying he was denied unfairly, hoping to encash the anti-incumbency and deliver this time a full mandate. What does the C-voter data for Madhya Pradesh say? So first, the sample size is 38,343. The poll was done between the 1st of September and the 8th of October. It's covered all the 230 Vidhan Sabha seats of Madhya Pradesh. Let me show you the projected vote share for this very crucial, supremely exciting battleground state. Here it is on your screen right now. In 2018, the Congress had 41% vote share, which is roughly also the vote share of the BJP. So they were neck and neck in terms of vote share. And remember, because the BJP wins in urban pockets with bigger margins, therefore the BJP has more votes, but their seat conversion ratio isn't quite as good because they're winning with bigger margins in urban and semi-urban pockets. The Congress's vote share in June was projected by C-Voter at 44%. They're now projecting that that could go up to 45. So 3% increase, 4% increase from 2018. The BJP, which was at 41, again projected to go up to 45. That's a 4% increase. Others were at 18. That's at 10. But remember, as I said in the first part, you really know the vote for others only after the candidates have been declared. Once you know how many rebel candidates are standing, how many of them are strong rebel candidates, then the others figure tends to change. Let's take a look at how the C-Voter vote share projections convert into seats. On your screen right now for Madhya Pradesh, and I said this earlier, this is the most exciting election because really what C-Voter is saying at this moment is that it's anybody's game. The Congress has the lead, 119. Remember, 230 is the size of the assembly, so you need 116 to form the government. C-Voter projects the Congress could end up at about 119, the BJP at 110, others at 1. So very, very delicately poised the Madhya Pradesh elections. Now, so there are two things that happened. First, the Congress seemed to have quite a big lead. About 6-8 months ago, the Congress seemed to be quite definitely in the lead in Madhya Pradesh. Then Shivraj Singh Chauhan came up with the Ladli Bahina Yojana. So month after month, 1,000 rupees started going into the bank accounts of women. This seemed to shore up the fortunes of the BJP, which pulled back on some of the lead the Congress had, and it brought the election very, very close. Then Shivraj Singh Chauhan seemed to have been unsettled by the central leadership of the Bharatiya Janata Party. He wasn't sometimes allowed to speak. It seemed to voters in Madhya Pradesh that he wasn't projected well, and he became unsettled, unsure. It wasn't even known till very recently whether he'd actually contest. He himself was asking voters in Budni, should he contest? So all of that together then created some uncertainty in the minds of the supporters of Shivraj Singh Chauhan, and he's been chief minister for 16 plus years. So there is a Shivraj constituency in Madhya Pradesh. There's a BJP constituency, there's a massive Modi constituency, but there is a Shivraj constituency as well. Now this poll suggests that the Congress has an edge. The BJP, though not very far away. Yashwant Deshmukh, this is very delicately poised. Like last time, at this moment, Madhya Pradesh really a cephalogist's nightmare. You could run the numbers different ways and come up with different conclusions. You've worked the maths in a way that you think the Congress at this moment has a reasonable edge, but not a comfortable edge.
Well, Rahul, you are right. And the reason behind that is Madhya Pradesh is not really voting or thinking like one single state right now. There are 6 regions of Madhya Pradesh, and all of them are throwing up different directions, There are 2 regions of Bhopal and Malwa where BJP has significantly big lead right now. And there are 2 regions of Baghelkhand and Bundelkhand where Congress has significant lead, while Mahakoshal and Nimad are going down the edge. So basically, if you want to look into the picture, basically it looks like Mahakoshal and Nimad, the contest over there is going to finally decide who is getting the final edge. However, having said that, it becomes very interesting in psephology, Rahul, when a ruling party actually ends up gaining vote and you are trying to explain that it is an anti-incumbency sentiment. So it is very perplexing. It is very, very confusing of sorts. What I think, is that more than anti-incumbency, it's probably is the fatigue that is going on in MP vote. And it's not just fatigue. I mean, it's easy to pinpoint chief minister. Chief minister, I can't pinpoint because he is popular. He is not unpopular as such. So there is a fatigue at large, probably with the governance, fatigue at large with the sitting MLAs, long-term, big number of them who have been in multiple terms, probably. So that is the question. And also one very final detail, Rahul. I genuinely believe that people do not like when the mandate is disrespected. People do not like when there is a todfod done to make a sarkar or topple a sarkar and made anything. So if the BJP probably would have let Kamal continue as the chief minister, and 4 years down the lane right now, BJP would have been looking at the numbers, what numbers Rajasthan is kind of showing in terms of momentum.
Okay, let GVL Narasimha Rao respond to that, because you make an important point that because Kamal Nath was denied and he's going to voters saying he was cheated, it creates a bit of a sympathy factor because Jyotiraditya Scindia switched over. You're having issues in alignment between Narendra Singh Tomar, the existing BJP cadre in Gwalior, Chambal, then you got Jyotiraditya Scindia's supporters, and while they're trying to get together, it's an unhappy marriage. And the sympathy factor, and the fact that Shivraj Singh Chauhan has been in power for 16 plus years, and the fact that he's now been unsettled. So you basically got a batsman who's taken guard, who's batting, but it doesn't seem sure of himself and therefore can't go out and play with the kind of freedom that you need to win the World Cup. GVL.
Rahul, you see, let me put it the other way around. He has been, BJP has been in power from 2023, 20 years. Except for the year of Kamal Nath's tenure. And it's not as if Kamal Nath had got a mandate and BJP had got this government through any any backdoor. Kamal Nath didn't get a mandate. The last election through a hung assembly in Madhya Pradesh, he was shorter by 2 seats. We were shorter by maybe 5, 6, 7 seats. So that, and then in terms of popular vote, the BJP had got slightly even more votes than what the Congress had got. So therefore, there was no moral victory for the Congress party in the last election, and for the BJP
but you're giving a rhetorical response to an empirical question. The fact that anti-incumbency has built up, Yashwant's point that if you'd let the Kamal Nath government run, by now anti-incumbency would have been against Kamal Nath and you would have probably won handsomely in Madhya Pradesh.
Even today, we are polling 45%. According to Yashwant's poll, the BJP is sitting on a 45% vote share, which by itself is spectacular. For a party which has been in government for nearly 20 years, it's a spectacular
but can
performance.
I say,
and I'm sure we will,
the arithmetic, and you know this well, say that 45% of the Congress vote share is worth more than 45% of the BJP's vote share, only because the BJP tends to get more votes in urban areas, and you win with and you win with bigger margins. Therefore, even if it seems that you got more vote share, unless it is spread out across the state, it doesn't help your seat conversion. So therefore, 45 for Congress is worth more than 45 for the BJP, and that's just the arithmetic reality.
No, Rahul, the point I'm making is, if there was a sympathy that Yashwant is talking about, the numbers would have been vastly different. But the fact that the BJP is even keel with the Congress in your poll, but going forward, certainly in the campaign, we will pick up. That's the reason why we fielded a number of heavyweights in the election. They will not only win their seats, they will have a massive influence on the entire region where they are contesting. So certainly our numbers, our vote share will see a big improvement as a result of our electoral
Okay, Amitabh Tiwari, it comes down to that. All these central ministers, MPs who are being made to contest, whether they act as force multipliers, as the BJP would like to believe, or they end up breaking each other's heads and there is extra competition because everybody is unsettled. Which one is it? The likes of Kailash Vijayvargiya said publicly, "Mujhe to ladna hi nahi tha ji, pata nahi kya." You know, he's saying that publicly. That creates its own confusion. Shivraj Singh Chauhan being unsettled creates its own confusion. Though the flip side could be, you make everyone fight, they all go out and give it their best shot. Narendra Singh Tomar wants to prove he's worthy of being Chief Minister. Kailash Vijayvargiya wants to prove he's worthy of being Chief Minister. Shivraj Singh Chauhan obviously wants to be Chief Minister, and therefore the BJP is more energized than it would otherwise be.
Yes, so this is what the BJP hopes, that these leaders, that the stalwarts would win their seats and also impact the surrounding seats and win the maximum seats in their regions, and then get the BJP past the halfway mark, and then post the polls, the BJP would decide who would be the chief ministerial candidate. However, what it also, in optics terms, what it also shows is that the BJP is not confident of its leadership, which is the state leadership. Then how can the voter give confidence to the state leadership or the Shivraj Singh Chauhan government? And also the fact that the BJP is pushing central ministers to the fight shows that it is not very confident of victory in the regions where Jyotiraditya Scindia came and helped the BJP form the government. Because if you see the regional breakup, BJP is still lagging significantly in the Chambal area, whereas the Congress is making significant gains in the Baghelkhand, which is the Bundelkhand plus the Vindhya region. And if you see, as you said, that the others are getting squeezed out, and the others have a vote share of, which was around 18%, now have a vote share of only 10%. The Congress is largely gaining at the expense of the BSP and others in Chambal and Baghelkhand regions. However, when the candidates are announced, see, 80% of the votes which BSP got in 2018 was from these two regions alone, and 70% of the votes which others got was from these two regions. So when candidates are announced, rebels are announced, the advantage which Congress has, because it is seen usurping the vote share of the others, might get lost, because the Congress is largely gaining only in these two regions, whereas the BJP, compared to 2018, is gaining in the rest of the four regions.
You know, if I go, Dr. Nasir Hussain, region by region, in Baghelkhand, the Congress seems to have a substantial lead over the BJP. 37 seats projected for the Congress versus 19 for the BJP. Last time it was virtually the opposite. So in Baghilkhand, the Congress is doing very well. In Bhopal, the BJP is sweeping. 20 projected seats for the BJP, 5 for the Congress. So a massive disproportionate edge to the Bharatiya Janata Party in Bhopal. In Chambal, Gwalior, which is where Jyotiraditya Scindia and Narendra Singh Tomar come from, the Congress at 28, the BJP only at 6. If this is true, then it's a real weak spot for the BJP, which despite importing leaders from the Congress seems to be, at least according to this sea-voter projection, weak in the Chambal belt. In Mahakaushal, you've got a much tighter fight. 23 seats projected for the Congress versus 19 for the BJP. The vote share 45 for the Congress, 44 for the BJP. It's a very tight fight in Mahakaushal. In Malwa, it's the BJP that is sweeping. 32 leads projected for the BJP versus 12 for the Congress out of the 45 seats of Malwa. And then Nimar, where it's 14-14 for the BJP and for the Congress. 45% vote share for both parties. So it essentially, even if the margins change on the margins in 4 regions, it essentially comes down to the Mahakaushal belt and to Nimar. So it's not one state election, it's 6 different elections playing out together. And typically the BJP would like to believe, Dr. Hussain, that when there is a seat-by-seat, region-by-region battle, because they have a stronger organizational base, because this is where the Jansangh traditionally came from, therefore their stronger election machine will give them the advantage on polling day, Dr. Hussain.
Rahul, BJP did have a stronger organization base during the last election also. But the people of Madhya Pradesh had voted Congress and they wanted to keep BJP out after 15 long years. But then what BJP did in Madhya Pradesh, everyone knows. I agree with Mr. Deshmukh that people generally don't like toppling of governments, destabilizing of government and breaking of parties. This I would say, because I come from the state of Karnataka, I have seen how the government was toppled there, how CBI,
but
ED
that,
was used
that again is a
against the
rhetorical
MLAs of
point.
Congress party
One second, Dr. Nasir Hussain,
government
the
was
Congress, just allow me to, just one second, Dr. Hussain, one second. The Congress MLAs broke away in Uttarakhand, the BJP came to power. Congress MLAs went away in Arunachal Pradesh, the BJP came to power. So that's not entirely empirically true. You could lose your MLAs and this dynamics change in the state and the BJP could still win. It's happened in Uttarakhand and in Arunachal.
No, I'll see. It definitely differs from state to state. But I've seen in the state of Karnataka how they are destabilized and what was their position in the last election. How Congress swept. According to our in-house reports, Madhya Pradesh, I think our tally, our number will be something like 145 to 150 in Madhya Pradesh. That is our in-house assessment. And it is 20 years anti-incumbency is there. Our organization is very strong. We have been taking up issues against the government. We have been fighting there on the ground. We have done our homework very well. We have done our surveys there. Both people ditching from Congress party will be taught a lesson by the people of Madhya Pradesh, and also for destabilizing a government, people will teach them a
Two points, GVL Narasimha Rao. One, you imported all these leaders from the Congress, yet in Gwalior, Chambal, the data suggests not just are you trailing, but trailing by a long margin. Secondly, the point that was being made about your seat share choices, your candidate choices betraying anxiety. You don't like your current team, which is why you want to change your team. If you liked your current team, you thought they could win, you wouldn't need to make so many last-minute shuffles in your batting order. You're having to bring in new heavyweight batsmen from the centre because your state batsmen aren't good enough.
Yeah, Rahul, what matters, whether in cricket or in elections, is to win. What matters is to win big. I think obviously as a party that is determined to win this election, we will use all the resources in our command. We'll use the best of our talent We will pull, because in Lok Sabha elections, Prime Minister Modi ji's image alone can really take the victory for granted. Certainly, we will need to use all our regional resources. A strong regional leaders. We need to leverage their popularity, their strength for electoral strength for winning elections in the states, because each of these big wigs, they will be a factor in Lok Sabha polls, but they will not be such a big factor as Prime Minister Modi ji's image overrides every other factor. So therefore, we want to leverage their popularity, their ground strength, their electoral appeal for winning big for
Okay.
the state assembly
GVL
elections.
Narasimha Rao basically playing on the sentiment in the BJP cadre that in a Lok Sabha election, even if a lamppost contests on the lotus symbol, is likely to
I
win
didn't
because
say
of
that.
victory.
No.
I'm saying that's the simple. That's the fact. That's the general thinking in the BJP, that because Prime Minister Modi is so strong and so popular, therefore anybody will win. It doesn't matter. And if you're a local leader, prove, whether it's in Indore or it's in Gwalior, Chambal, prove what you're worth. That's the point that you're making, which is fine. Narsi Hussain, respond to what GVL is saying, that they are bringing out all the batsmen. They have the batsmen, they're bringing them out to bat. If you had batsmen, aap bhi khila lo. He's saying, we are ultimately it matters whether you win the World Cup or not. They're making whoever they have bat.
See, that is what I'm saying. See, ultimately in an election, every party will try and put up the best resources, best candidates, best speakers, best electioneering, and all those things. I don't have a problem with that. But the whole problem is, it is not me. The other panelists also are questioning and saying, see, the lack of confidence in the present team, in the present leadership in Madhya Pradesh, anti-incumbency against the present government is something what they are trying to deal with. How are they dealing? They are trying to deal by bringing Lok Sabha members, by bringing Rajya Sabha members, by bringing union ministers, asking them to contest there, campaign there, stay put there. So that means this government has not delivered. There is no confidence in the leadership of the state. That is why they are doing it. There's where the Congress has a chance, and that's what Congress is not only hoping, is building upon it.
Okay. Anyway, both parties will go with the narrative that they will. It's for the voters of Madhya Pradesh to choose which narrative they prefer. After Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, I now want to come to Chhattisgarh. In Chhattisgarh, the tracking data has so far suggested the Congress was comfortably placed, and Bhupesh Baghel seemed set for a second term. Does the situation still seem the same, or are the dynamics changing? C-voter sampled 7,652 respondents across the 90 assembly seats of Chhattisgarh between the 1st of September and the 8th of October. Let's take you through the vote share projections first. So coming up on your screen now, the vote share projections for Chhattisgarh. Remember, the Congress had 43% of the vote share in Chhattisgarh in 2018. When C-voter last polled in August 2023, the Congress's vote share was at 46. At 46%, the Congress seemed very comfortably placed. In October, the Congress's vote share has now come down to 45. That's 1% less than what they picked up in the last poll. The BJP, which had crashed to 33, went up to 41 in the last poll in August. That vote share now projected at 44, which is 11% more than the last assembly elections. The Congress still has the edge, but it doesn't have as big an edge as it did a few months ago, which suggests that the BJP is gaining some ground. It hasn't gained enough ground to land a knockout blow, but they've gained enough ground to make this a very exciting election. So between now and the 7th of November, there will be a lot of mirch masala in the battlefield of Chhattisgarh, because this election is getting close. Both parties think they have a chance to win. Let's take a look at how this vote share projection converts into seats across the 90 assembly seats of Chhattisgarh. C-voters projecting at this time that the Congress's vote share, which was 68 in the last elections, this time is likely to be 48. Remember, you need 46 plus to form the government. So 48 means you're still across the finishing mark, but you're very close to the finishing mark. And when you're close to the finishing mark, that's not a comfortable position for the Congress. The Congress wants to win like they won in Karnataka, where you're comfortably placed and the BJP is far behind, and therefore there's nothing they can do because you've won a big mandate. 48, when you need 46, is just very tight because the BJP is projected to go up from 15 to 42. That's a gain of 27 seats between 2018 and now. So 42 for the BJP, 48 for the Congress means Chhattisgarh is now tighter than it was a few months ago. Yashwant Deshmukh, why is it that you think that the BJP has recovered some ground? And do you think this is just the amount of recovery that is likely, or are you suggesting, or are you picking up momentum shifting in Chhattisgarh from advantage BJP to now this being neck and neck?
There are a few pointers. Again, as I said, that party in power, increasing the vote share from the previous election, that is something which is interesting for me to observe. But as you mentioned, it is only the starting point. As we know, more rebel candidate, other candidates, they point in. That is when we know where this dust settles down and eventually what is the vote share that we are looking at. However, one thing is clear. Actually, two things are clear. Chief Minister Baghel is extremely popular. In fact, in our MOTN poll for the India Today, we know that he was at rank number 2 right below Naveen Babu in that way. So there is no anger against the Chief Minister. However, just by virtue of, Congress actually in 5 years back got disproportionately large number of seats in Chhattisgarh. Nobody expected them to pick up those many seats. That also got in a problem of huge number of non-performing MLAs. So that anti-incumbency at a micro level is something which the Congress needs to be extremely cautious about. Now we need to see that on the ticket distribution side, how many candidates actually non-performing MLAs that they can actually drop, how many new faces they can give so that this anti-incumbency at the micro level can be countered. On the other hand, BJP has finally cleared the ticket of Dr. Raman Singh. Even without projecting his name was consistently coming up as the only BJP leader, which in the verbatim top of the mind record people were naming as the Prime Minister, as the Chief Ministerial choice from the BJP's camp. So now that he has been given a ticket, will that consolidate BJP's votes further? That remains to be seen. However,
but what's happened in the last 5 years is that Bhupesh Baghel has been playing the Chhattisgarhiyavad card. Remember, Chhattisgarh was largely a tribal state. It didn't have a sub-regional identity of its own, like a Tamil Nadu, for example, does, or even a Karnataka. He's tried to build that out. And therefore, Dr. Raman Singh, because he comes from the upper caste, and that's just about 5 or 6% of the voters in Chhattisgarh, he is arithmetically disadvantaged. Therefore, the BJP is trying to bring up a new crop of leadership in the form of an Arun Sahu or an O.P. Chaudhary who come from the Sahu, the Satnamis or the OBC community to try and build up a non-upper caste face. But then the big risk there, JVL, is that it's happening too late in the day. You can say, okay, this guy is now an Arab stallion, he'll run and he'll win the derby. But the voters don't really have that kind of an affection with that leader. So some of this new leadership that you're building is happening late in the day. Your new leaders don't have the kind of recall, and the ones that do don't have the kind of projection that may be required for them to be confidently projected to be the next chief minister.
No, Rahul, even without any such projection, your poll itself is showing a massive vote shift in Chhattisgarh compared to last election. So it's always not necessarily a leadership that results in a vote gain or a vote loss, but the mal-governance in Chhattisgarh itself. This is a huge anti-incumbency that is evident in your poll. And when people decide to vote out a government, then nothing else matters. I think I see this really going all the way towards the BJP, because again, we had a 10%, we lagged behind by 10 percentage points in the last election with 33% vote against Congress's 43. And today, if we have closed that gap significantly, it clearly shows there is a massive anger against the state government. While the PR exercise of Chhattisgarh government might have given Baghel a big name in the national level at a time when Congress had no governments in any state in the country, the reality is on the ground there is a severe unhappiness about
Nasir Hussain,
Chhattisgarh
is
government.
this data alarming from a Congress's perspective? You are still projected to form the government, but the momentum seems to be shifting, and often, like the victorious Australian team of the past, or the West Indies team of the 70s and the 80s, if the BJP sends an opportunity, they can often go in for the kill. The Congress needs a healthy margin. The BJP can find some way of making a tight fight turn into a victory. Are you concerned about BJP gaining some momentum, even though you seem to be in the lead at the moment?
Rahul, I agree with you that Congress should win with huge margins. They should win with a large number of seats. And this is what we have been telling the people across the country. Don't give us a simple majority. Please give us an absolute majority. Otherwise, BJP will break governments, will see to it that the governments are stabilized, will see to it that there is horse trading, will buy MLAs, will use ED, IT and CBI. This is what we have been saying. We said this in Karnataka, we won with a huge margin. And we are winning Chhattisgarh in with a huge margins. And again, what you try to explain in Madhya Pradesh, I think BJP has a similar problem here, the percentage of votes which they are getting here. And I think they will be getting these numbers slightly from urban areas.
No, but it's very different. No, one second. Nasir Hussain, it doesn't hold. Sir, that logic, sir, Nasir Hussain, Saab. Sir, one second.
See, you give so much of time to GVL, then you give so much of time to GVL, you don't give time to me.
Okay, no, please. Okay, you make your, I'll explain the difference between Chhattisgarh and the other states in a moment, but you complete your point. Go on, Nasir Hussain.
20 lakh farmers. Tendu Patta and forest produce procurement. Now see all these schemes, Rajiv Gandhi Kisan Yojana, old pension scheme, Godan Yojana, loan waiver for farmers, about for 20 lakh farmers, 25 lakh getting benefited from, 25 lakh farmers getting benefited from Rajiv Gandhi Kisan Yojana, old pension scheme, Godan Yojana, and then Tendu Patta and forest produce procurement. See, all these schemes are largely targeted and directed towards the rural Chhattisgarh, and that is the area from which I think large number of Congress seats will come. They may be five here and five seats down or 5 seats up, but we are definitely going to form the Chhattisgarh government. There's no anti-incumbency against the government, and the chief minister is hugely popular. That is the reason why the central government was all out trying to arrest ED, trying to make use of ED and arrest officers from the chief minister's residence, officers from working with the chief minister to defame and depopularize
So can I just make the point now that Chhattisgarh is different from Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh because Chhattisgarh is a largely rural agrarian state. Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan have more urban pockets than Chhattisgarh, and therefore what was said in the case of a Madhya Pradesh or a Rajasthan may not be true in the case of a Chhattisgarh just because of the breakup of the seats of the state. Far more agrarian, far more rural than a Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Amitabh Tiwari, there is some shift in momentum. The BJP is gaining some momentum. The Congress is losing some of its lead, but the Congress still in front in Chhattisgarh, 45 versus 44. Is that enough, you think, to see them through in the battle in November, or should the Congress really be concerned at this stage about what may happen in the next few weeks?
I think the Congress should really be concerned because, as you said, the satisfaction levels with Baghelas are fairly high, but that is not the case with the local MLAs. And BJP realizes that the anti-incumbency against the local MLAs is high. That's why it is going for a seat-by-seat contest, not announcing a chief ministerial face. And I beg to differ here from you that any seat-by-seat contest actually is very, very difficult for any incumbent party to contest. That's what we are seeing in Rajasthan, MP, Chhattisgarh, Telangana, Mizoram also. So what is happening also is the fact that the SC-ST community helped the Congress sweep 32 out of 39 seats in 2018 Vidhan Sabha. However, the top two positions or the top three positions in the ministry are occupied by the upper caste and the OBCs. So the SC/ST representation in the cabinet, which BJP was once accused of in Chhattisgarh, has not happened even in the Congress government, and the BJP has tried to project some ST community leaders like Ms. Renuka and Gomati Bai, etc. So there is also, what is happening is that with the weakening of the Janata Chhattisgarh Congress, which had damaged BJP significantly, bagging 8% vote share, they are now almost vanished. And that voter is coming back to the BJP, reverting to
Not necessarily. Some of those, because Amit Jogi and his mother are discredited, some of those votes could go back to the Congress. Because when I was in Chhattisgarh and I asked this question, where does the Jogi vote go? Because it's largely a Sattami tribal vote, a lot of that could also go back to the Congress. So it's not as if that vote is necessarily coming to the BJP, Amitabh.
Yeah, so that is what was actually believed in 2018 also, that JCC will damage the Congress, but it actually damaged the BJP more so in the central region. It bagged all its seats from there. It did not win significant SC/ST seats. Most of the seats it won were general category seats. And with the weakening, and that is what is being seen in the regional share also, that BJP is gaining significantly in the central region. And the X factor here could be the women voters who outnumber the men voters in Chhattisgarh. The women voters outnumber the men, and that
where does the Jogi vote go? Yashwant Deshmukh, very quickly. X factors, what can change? Where does the Jogi vote go?
Well, he is right. I mean, I was absolutely right, because last time the Jogi votes actually damaged the BJP big time. So much so that even in the strongest of the urban seats in central Chhattisgarh, BJP had to face the music. But this vote is actually largely going back to the BJP. And also the fact that, the anti-incumbent vote of other parties might likely to polarize again. So last election was kind of, we predicted that BJP is going to lose last election. We predicted Congress is winning. But the extent of which the victory margins, the extent of the number of seats that Congress got, that even surprised the Congress leaders themselves. So that kind of extreme verdict kind of thing, that might be rationalized a lot. However, for Congress, the biggest strength remains the chief minister, their chief minister, while the BJP still has to,
so here's what we wish to say
its place in order.
In conclusion, even if the Congress wins, it will be with a likely lesser margin than they did last time when the BJP just collapsed. After 3 terms of being in power, they just collapsed in Chhattisgarh. That's unlikely to happen. They're bouncing back. The Congress is coming down. The Congress, though, still has the lead. Can they hold on to that lead? Which is why this election is so exciting, which is also why our coverage is so important, because we give you the kind of insights you will not get on any other Indian news channel. For your data, which helped power this conversation, Yashwant Deshmukh, thank you very much. Amitabh Tiwari, thank you for your insights. GVL Narasimha Rao and Nasir Hussain for being rational and, to the extent possible, empirical in your responses. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining us. This was this week's edition of the Political Stock Exchange. I'll have more for you when we come back. We're slipping into a break. Of course, the PSC is something that we'll keep doing week on week as we try and capture the changing moods and the pulse of the Indian voter. Thank you for tuning in.